Hello, everyone. I am Luke Reinhardt. Welcome to Closing the Gap, a podcast dedicated to your growth. Brought to you by Wellspring Coaching Services and hosted by myself and my wife, Katie. You know, people have gaps that prevent them from growing. Our goal is to empower you to close those gaps by increasing your awareness, confidence, and clarity. Join us today as we help you close the gap between where you are and where you want to be. All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the show. Today, we are going to talk about awareness. Freedom and awareness.
Okay.
And awareness being the knowledge or perception of a situation or fact.
Okay.
So you can't change what you're not aware of. So
yeah, it's true.
It's important that we're learning to increase awareness in order to change, in order to grow.
Yeah, and awareness is really, it's a catalyst for personal growth. Mm-hmm. And this podcast is dedicated to personal growth. Luke and I have a passion for that work. We think it's a critical part of human development is really focusing on personal growth. Mm-hmm. And we also have this fundamental belief that you're either moving forward or you're moving backward, but you're never really standing still.
Right.
And we'll probably repeat that a few times through these podcasts. But it's not something we often think about, like our movement and where we're going. One example would be, I've had an injury and I haven't been able to exercise for a few months. And I'm getting rusty. I have a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, but it's just fading right now. Knowledge, my body awareness, my muscle memory, my fitness, everything's kind of waning right now.
Yeah.
So it's just taking more effort, right? Because if I'm not actually actively doing it, I'm not even staying where I was. I have to keep moving forward. So it's really important. And also with our life coaching that we do, one of our main goals is to build awareness in clients.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important to build awareness because, we have different kinds of awareness.
Yeah.
We have self-awareness. Mm-hmm. And you were just kind of speaking in that a little bit. We have self-awareness can be aware of our core motives.
Okay.
It could be being aware of our thought processes.
Yep.
How we think. It can be aware of our physical body, like how is our body feeling when we do certain things or when we eat certain things.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like paying attention, and then also how we interact with other people.
Right. Our personalities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's many different levels of self-awareness.
Right.
And unless you're really taking the time to observe and evaluate these things and research even, because, it's kind of surprising. We've practiced or studied the Enneagram a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's a great tool for self-awareness.
Sure.
And it's pretty amazing, really, how much awareness you can gain through just reading about a certain number, a number type in the Enneagram, where it's like there's certain number that you just really can connect to,
right? But
then you start to learn actually more about yourself. It makes things clear, like, okay,
it's a system. I would say,
and it's like you start to recognize, that's what I do, and now it makes sense,
right?
You know what I mean? So.
And you would think after decades of living with yourself, you would know these things. But the reality is we have blind spots too. So sometimes it takes, we're talking about the self-awareness, but it would take maybe talking to other people in your life to really, become aware of those things too.
And when you're doing something like Enneagram, that's really important because you might have a certain perception of yourself, and other people have a different perception.
Right.
But where they meet,
is
going to make it a little easier to figure out where you're at. And
we hope honesty is in the equation too.
And the whole point of it really is to see where you're at, so that you can grow from there. It's not like, oh, this is who I am, and this is just the way I'm going to do it. I'm stuck here. That's my personality. That's what I do. Right. But
there's a growth formation in there.
You're learning. Okay, this is where I'm at right now, and is it a healthy version or an unhealthy version of myself?
Yeah.
And how do I push towards the healthy version?
Right.
And a lot of times that's actually moving out of your number into another one. And
Right.
obviously,
Spreading your wings.
yeah, learning how to better relate with other people based on that.
Yeah, it's true.
So we do have
self-awareness.
Self-awareness, and then we have
social awareness too. And social awareness is sort of understanding how you interact with others, how others are interacting with you, what the dynamics are at play. These are things too that, if you have children, or if you have, even if you're maybe in leadership in your company and you're trying to train an employee, you sort of have to make them aware of the dynamics, the social milieu of wherever you are, of the company or the family, or just and those things can change too. Like, we're in a social time period right now where certain things are acceptable and unacceptable. And so working through and being aware of where you are, the culture around you, the people around you, even just, I know for me, I can walk into a room and it's almost palpable for me, what the energy of the room is. Is there a lower energy? People are, there's a sadness here or whatever. Do I want to come in, in full blast excitement? Maybe that's the goal, is to bring the energy up. Maybe I just sort of meet and match everybody. But just being aware of those things. So I can, and even being aware, like you were saying, with the with the self, the combination of the two is awesome, because if you know where you're coming in, and then you're aware of what's around you, in terms of the people, it's, you have a lot of information that you can use to know how to best act in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we're still have another type of awareness that you were going to speak about, I think.
Yeah, environmental awareness.
Yeah.
So we have self-awareness, social awareness, and environmental awareness.
Okay.
And to put it in simple terms, it's self-awareness is paying attention to yourself, how you do things.
Yeah.
Social awareness is paying attention to others.
Yeah.
And environmental awareness is paying attention to your surroundings.
Yeah.
And that could be physical surroundings.
Right.
But, you could also almost make it look like social awareness, where it's like paying attention to the people around you, not exactly the dynamics in the sense of...
Yeah, interpersonal.
Yeah. But what they're doing around you.
What they're doing and where we are. So I've used this example in some of our self-defense seminars, but, I was at the mall, which I'm rarely at the mall, but I was at the mall.
The mall?
And I think I had one of our children with us, and we had to use the restroom. And so I go down to the restroom, and I realize, oh my goodness, this bathroom is in the darkest corner of this entire place. It was like a maze trying to lead back into the actual women's door. Plus, once you're in the women's door, it's, you're in, the stalls are sort of further back. It was like, could we, set this up any worse for safety?
Yeah.
It was pretty bad. To the point where, even if you screamed, I really doubt anyone would have heard, because you were just so deep in the belly of this building. And so, that was kind of I had a lot of environmental awareness going into that. I'm not going to use the hand dryer and be extra loud. I'm going to, get in and out of this place as fast as I can. I'm going to make some noise. And, it was just, you have to go into those situations being aware of your risk, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this practice of awareness, paying attention, observing and reflecting on self, social, and environmental awareness in different ways. One of the things that this does for us is it multiplies choice.
Yeah.
And that's where this concept of freedom comes in. It's when we have more choices, we can often make better decisions.
True. Right.
So just understanding, okay, there is more than one option here.
Yeah.
And what's going to be the best option?
Right.
The safest option, or whatever it may be.
And we are creatures of habit. We tend to do the same things.
Right.
But when we build awareness, we realize, oh, I don't have to do the same things. This person over here is doing something different. That person over there is doing something different. I wonder if I could try that on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't want to contradict myself from a previous podcast where I spoke about... the discipline and freedom, and how really freedom comes through honestly obedience.
Right.
But when I say it multiplies choice and that increases freedom, because we kind of spoke before about how, freedom isn't necessarily to choose right or wrong. Freedom is really the ability not to choose wrong.
Yeah.
Right. So if I take it to jiu-jitsu, which I tend to do often, but in jiu-jitsu, to relate awareness, you really cannot defend against what you don't know.
Yeah.
So if I'm grappling around with somebody and they've never seen a triangle choke, they're not going to be able to defend or get out of my triangle choke.
Yeah.
Right?
It sneaks up on you.
So that's one level of the awareness is, you can't defend what you're not aware of.
Yeah.
But then two, if I'm in cross-body position or I'm mounted on somebody, if I have one submission, I have one option, right? But the more submissions I become aware of is going to multiply my choices, right? And these are all, in a sense, good choices.
Right.
I'm learning what's right to do and what's wrong to do in these various positions.
Right.
And that increases my choice. And of course, I'm going to try to choose what is right so that I can succeed.
Yeah.
Right? So the more aware you become of all the positioning, all the varieties of the positioning, the ways to get out, the ways to transition, the ways to attack, the ways to defend. Simply just the more effective you're going to be in jiu-jitsu in time, practicing according to those things.
Yeah.
So
and this is true for any discipline.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point is if we take that to even personal growth,
right,
and we relate it to that, the more aware we become of these things, self, social, and environmental awareness.
Yeah.
And one I'd like to little add in there, which we haven't really put on there, but is spiritual awareness.
Right.
It kind of like the more we become aware of these things, the more we can grow, the more we can change, and the more efficient we can be in life.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say the efficiency is important because you try something on and then you work it. You work it till it's efficient and it's sort of muscle memory. Mm-hmm. Whatever that is. That can be temper control. Right. Or healthy lifestyle choices. Mm-hmm. They're hard at first. It's hard to change these things. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes and the more streamlined. And then once that's sort of easier, you have more, what's the word? Bandwidth, I guess everybody's it's sort of a popular word right now. The more bandwidth you have to then invest in a new change or a new area you want to grow in. Yeah. So I wouldn't suggest jumping around or trying to tackle 3 or 4 different changes at once. Yeah. But even I always talk about with diet, or even just health practices, folding them in one at a time. Yeah. Just do it one at a time, keep the previous going and start the new one. And that just really is the method that seems to work and be sustainable. And it's true with awareness. So let's talk for a second about how you would grow. Like what are the steps for growth and awareness? So we had a previous podcast and I'll mention it again, but curiosity, entering into it with curiosity, like asking questions, like asking trusted friends or family, like how do you receive me? Like, do you think of me as shy or outgoing or quiet or loud? Am I abrupt? Am I, back on my heels a little too much? Like, how do I come across? So asking those questions, and sometimes we don't like the answer, but it is a no pain, no gain in this case. I just have to say, you sort of have to see that darkness in you, or that the things you might not want to hear is the only way you're really going to get to where you want to get to. So I would definitely recommend asking these questions of people that you trust and have a good, loving foundation with. And take that risk. Be brave, take that risk and ask these questions. Yeah. And so we would say, number 1, be curious, and then practice observation. So observing yourself in situations. How do I feel? How am I excited to go in this situation? Am I not excited? Am I feeling anxious? What's the reasoning behind that? Maybe journal that a little bit. So you want to observe, and you want to just be reflective of everything that you're observing on. Yeah. Like, don't come to a conclusion right away. Just sort of hold it and sort of figure out, is this, where is this coming from? What is that? Yeah. Why do I do that? Why do I flee situations that look like this? Or why do I get anxious in this scenario.
Yeah, and to me, I think the word humility pops up too, because it takes humility to do this.
Oh yeah.
And the reality is that you know more about yourself than you think. But it's kind of like on a subconscious level.
Yeah, it's bringing it up.
What this is, and even as coaches, our goal is to bring it to a conscious level. So
Yes.
even through studying Enneagram, I was like, well, I kind of, like, yes, you kind of like say that in your mind, like, yes, but it's like, it's like this thing that was like subconscious that I knew about myself, but now it was brought to the forefront.
Right. It's a wellspring.
Yes. And that happens through observation, reflection, and asking people questions, having people ask you questions, which is what we do as coaches.
Right.
That really kind of trigger that kind of thought process.
Right.
But whether it be through studying something like the Enneagram, reading any other kind of
there's lots of personality tests out there. Yeah.
Personality test or books. Reading scripture for me does the same thing.
Yeah, the Bible. Journaling, what you read. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's kind of the
reading,
goal
is
because it's like you know more about yourself than you think.
Yep.
But at the same time, if you pay attention to what I just said, you know more about yourself than you actually think. Right?
Right.
You're not always thinking about these things.
Right.
Even though they're kind of in your core and you don't fully recognize it. And bringing it to light is what we try to do as coaches. But for you guys, I mean, whether you have a coach or whether you're studying or communicating with other people, there's a lot of ways to do it. I would say the coaching process probably is one of the faster ways.
I would say,
to do it.
It's often not a long process. I mean, you might do. You're not going to get too much benefit, I don't think, unless you do at least 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But it's not something that necessarily lasts forever, depending on your situation. It's the goal is to be unstuck and to move forward and to be equipped with tools that then you can use on your own too. Yeah.
And no matter how you're doing it, coaching or not, if you're reading, you have to have somebody to talk to it about. You have to
process.
That's how it comes to the forefront.
Right.
So coaching is kind of like a very intentional, process for that. That's why that's why it's so effective.
Right.
Because it's what it's for, and whether that's learning more about yourself and gaining awareness in that.
Yeah.
Or I mean, even you within your business. There's so many different levels. It's not always personal growth. Is not always just. We could say personal growth, but growth is not always just personal growth in that sense. And there's many ways that we can grow.
Yeah.
Basically, to get from point A to point B, whatever that may be. It could be a goal. It could be a formation, which we've talked about before. And goals versus growth. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think keeping in mind, anytime we grow personally, all those around us are benefiting. One, by watching it, because you're acting as a model or as a leader in this area, but also they benefit because personal growth, usually it's making you a better human being, It's helping you to be more loving, it's helping you to be more sacrificial, it's helping you to serve better. And these things are wonderful. This is the contribution that we all want to be able to give. Like I think there's a part of us that wants to, wrap up our days, whenever that may be, with the idea that, I made some contribution. And the only way to do that is to try to get, the obstacles out of the way. And we all have those. We all have obstacles. We have hindrances that block us. And this is a good starting place. Just work on awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool. Awareness multiplies choice.
Choice, yeah.
And in that sense, we have more freedom. And in time, we'll become more efficient and more effective in maximizing our potential and living life to the full.
Right. I don't know if we mentioned, but we were certified as life coaches through John Maxwell team. And John Maxwell is a well-known leadership I would say almost guru,
Yeah.
he's a master. And he's written, I think, almost 100 books, maybe over now. Well, let's say books and courses together. And his books are real fast reads most of the time. They're really palatable, and he has so many out there you can sort of pick and choose. But we've gotten a lot out of all of his, all the books we've read and the courses we've done. He really systematizes personal growth. So, and I think he got his start. He was a pastor, but I think he got his start into personal growth as a career by someone asking him, "What's your plan for personal growth?" He was like, "What?
Yeah.
What do you mean?"
It's got to be a plan.
So I guess we would ask, "What's your plan for personal growth?" Because if you're not actively working on it, you're not moving forward in that area.
Yeah. And why do you want to grow?
Well, that's what the service. I would say my reasons to grow is, one, to make life more beautiful for myself and others.
Yeah.
Yeah, the benefits multiply. They're exponential. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So, topic of the day, awareness. Hopefully this
Yes.
helps you understand the value of awareness and how to increase awareness.
Yep.
To help you get from point A, where you are, to point B,
Where you want to be.